Hi, we're the Fine Brothers.
And consider yourselves warned.
Grab your shotguns and board up your doors.
We're gonna be spoiling everything from the first 4 seasons of The Walking Dead.
You'll be all caught up for the season 5 premiere on October 12th after watching this recap in one take in under 9 minutes.
Starting now.
Meet Rick Grimes, a sheriff's deputy who wakes up from a coma in an abandoned hospital.
He's awoken in a world overrun with zombies, which the show calls walkers, even though we see several of them crawl and jog.
Rick's got a wife named Lori and son Carl, who thinks Rick's dead thanks to information from Shane Walsh, Rick's partner and bestie, who also happens to be sleeping with Lori. Drama!
On the way to finding his family, he runs into Morgan and his son Dwayne and his zombie wife, who chills outside their front porch.
He explains to Rick the whole dead people coming back as zombies situation and tells him there may be a safe zone in Atlanta.
When Rick reaches it via horseback, it's been taken over by walkers.
Meanwhile, outside the city, Lori, Carl, and Shane have been hiding with a ragtag group of survivors.
Most of them will eventually get killed, so we'll just rattle through ones that actually matter.
There's Glenn, who dresses like Short Round from Indiana Jones.
Daryl, ex-Boondock Saint, whose weapon of choice is a crossbow.
His racist ex-con brother Merle, who's probably bitter over the stink palm he once got.
Andrea, who loves making stupid decisions.
Carol, who has a daughter named Sophia.
And T-Dog, who gets less lines in the show than the walkers.
Everybody got that? Good!
Supplies get low, so several members of the group head to downtown Atlanta and run into Rick, who's surrounded by walkers.
Glenn rescues Rick and Merle goes a little cuckoo, so Rick does what anyone else would do in that situation, handcuffs him to a department store roof.
Rick comes back with them to the camp and reunites with his wife and son with Shane looking on. Awkward!
Rick puts himself in command with the group with Shane. They decide to go back to town to get guns Rick left behind and to rescue Merle, but find only Merle sawed off hand.
A group of walkers attack the camp and kill a chunk of the group, including Andrea's sister Amy.
R.I.P. Amy.
After realizing their camp isn't safe, Rick suggests going to the CDC headquarters for aid while Shane thinks a nearby army base would be safer.
Nearby meaning over 100 miles, so they go with Rick's idea.
Heading to the safe, germ-free CDC headquarters sounds like a great decision!
But first, more zombie killing!
They reach the CDC and find everyone is gone except Dr. Edwin Jenner, who's been trying to figure out this whole people rising from the dead as zombies thing.
He hasn't found the cure, and a self-destruct sequence has been initiated.
Jenner decides to say, but not before whispering into Rick's ear.
What? You'd think we'd tell you what he whispered to him now? We don't get to find that out until next season.
The group escapes just as the CDC is blown apart in the explosion.
Going out to the CDC as a safe haven turns out to be a bad decision.
Season 2!
Everyone decides Shane's idea of the army base is worth the long walk.
They run into a traffic jam full of abandoned vehicles filled with supplies.
Then a horde of walkers come by to break up the fun.
More zombie killing!
Walker chases Carol's daughter Sophia into the woods where Rick finds her and Sophia gets saved!
And then lost again!
During the search for Sophia, Carl gets accidentally shot and wounded by a hunter named Otis.
Otis takes Cara, Rick, and Shane to a farm away from all the walkers owned by a veterinarian named Herschel.
A farm isolated from zombies? Sounds like a great decision!
Nothing in this show comes easy, as the medical supplies needed to help Carl are located away at a nearby school.
Otis, along with Shane, go out to search for the supplies.
The place gets swarmed by walkers, so after getting the supplies, Shane decides to wound Otis and distract them and get away.
As Carl recovers, the rest move to the farm and try to coexist with Herschel's family, but tensions rise.
Glenn starts getting the hots for Herschel's oldest daughter, Maggie.
Shane shaves his head and has been pretty pissy with Rick's leadership along with being rejected by Lori.
Carol's depressed over her daughter's disappearance and gets comforted by Daryl.
Andrea learns how to shoot a gun.
T-Dog said about 3 lines!
Oh, and Lori is pregnant, but she doesn't know if the father is Rick or Shane.
Everybody got that? Good!
With the others searching for Sophia, Glenn discovers a barn full of walkers, some of whom are Herschel's own family members and neighbors.
Shane snaps and releases the walkers, and Sophia emerges from the barn as a walker? Mind blown!
And then Sophia's mind gets literally blown when Rick shoots her in the head.
R.I.P. Sophia.
Staying at the farm turned out to be a bad decision.
With his zombified family killed, Herschel disappears to a bar to drink away his grief.
Rick and Glenn find him along with 2 other survivors.
New friends?
Well, not really, because it gets a little heated and Rick shoots them in self-defense when they try to kill him.
3 guys show up asking about the people Rick killed, and we get an old-fashioned bar shootout.
The noise attracts walkers, which leads to more zombie killing.
Rick, Glenn, and Herschel take an injured member of the attackers named Randall back to the farm.
Shane hates the idea of keeping Randall alive, so he takes him away in the forest and murders him in secret.
Daryl and Glenn find Randall, who's turned into zombie Randall, and kill him.
Shane, the walking time bomb, planned the fake search for Randall so that he could single out Rick and have the showdown everyone's been waiting for, Rick versus Shane.
Rick gets the better of Shane and stabs him dead.
R.I.P. Shane.
Carl magically wanders in right after Shane is killed and sees Shane turn into a walker and shoots him dead.
Well, technically Shane was already dead, so we can't R.I.P. him again, can we?
The gunshot brings walkers and Herschel's property gets swarmed.
But hey, at least we get more zombie killing!
A couple of people get eaten and Andrea gets abandoned, but she's later rescued by a woman named Michonne, who carries a katana along with being escorted by 2 chained, jawless, and armless walkers.
Who knew zombies could make such good pets?
As for the rest of the group, Rick finally reveals what Dr. Jenner whispered to him at the CDC.
Every survivor is infected with the walker virus regardless if they're bitten or not, so no matter how they die, they still turn into a zombie. Mind blown!
Rick's sanity has been shaken up and he gives the group an ultimatum in which he's the boss if they choose to stay.
Rick-tatorship!
Season 3!
Flash forward several months later!
The team's found a prison and make it their new home.
Sounds like a great decision, because we know what happens whenever we say that.
Just as they get comfortable, another zombie invasion shakes up the group.
Attempting to save Carol, T-Dog gets killed and Lori goes into labor and gives birth to her baby, later named Judith.
Lori, dying from childbirth, gets shot by her own son Carl to make sure she doesn't return as zombie mom. God, this show is so depressing.
R.I.P. Lori and T-Dog.
Carl breaks the news to his dad, who goes into depression and starts seeing hallucinations of his wife. Ghost Lori?
What about Andrea?
Well, her and Michonne stumble stumble upon Woodbury, a fort town utopia.
It's run by the governor, who has his own army headed by none other than Daryl's handless brother, Merle.
Michonne decides to leave while Andrew decides to stay.
Merle gets sent out to hunt Michonne, but instead captures a scavenging Maggie and Glenn.
Michonne makes it to the prison and recruits several of them back to Woodbury to rescue the pair.
Great news! Maggie and Glenn get saved!
Bad news, Daryl gets captured.
Meanwhile, Michonne breaks into the governor's apartment only to find jars full of zombie heads along with his zombie daughter who he kept chained in a room.
Seriously, what is it with people keeping zombified family members?
The governor appears and she stabs him in the eye with broken glass!
The one-eyed governor then accuses Merle of treason after he lied about killing Michonne and has him and Daryl duke it out, but Rick and the team interrupt the fun and rescue them.
Daryl then leaves with Merle, knowing the group wouldn't accept him back.
The governor and his team attack the prison, prompting Merle and Daryl to come back and help kill walkers who seeped into the prison as a result.
More zombie killing!
Rick returns to his hometown for weapons and finds someone we thought we'd never see again. Morgan, remember him?
Well, Morgan hasn't been doing so well ever since he let his kid get killed by his zombie wife. Parent of the Year!
Meanwhile, Andrea finds out that the governor intends to return and wipe out the prison, contrary to a deal he made with Rick to exchange Michonne for peace. But before she can tell them, he jails her along with getting a sweet new eye patch.
Merle takes Michonne to the exchange point, but changes his mind and releases her. It messes up the governor's plan, and Merle gets killed.
R.I.P. Merle. Why do we keep saying R.I.P. when we know they're gonna come back to life?
Daryl finds Merle as a walker is forced to kill him, bringing us to the conclusion that this show will never stop being depressing.
The governor heads to the prison, but Rick's group ambushes him.
He just got rickrolled!
Meanwhile, Andrea gets bitten by a walker that was put in her cell, and knowing her fate, choose yourself.
R.I.P. Andrea.
The governor runs off and they return to the prison with several survivors from Woodbury.
Season 4!
Flash forward 7 months later, once again, where things have become peaceful.
Kids are given classes, a council has been formed as Rick gave up his role as leader, and everyone seems to be getting along quite well.
Wait, are we still talking about The Walking Dead?
Unfortunately, we are. And a new menace appears, the flu!
People start dropping like flies.
Carol kills 2 people with the flu to keep it from spreading, causing her banishment.
However, medicine is soon found and the flu epidemic ends.
So what about that missing governor? Turns out he's been abandoned by his people.
He meets Lily and her daughter Megan and turns over a new leaf and helps out by saving them from walkers, telling jokes, and teaching Megan how to play chess.
He stumbles upon and kills one of his Woodbury henchmen and uses his death as a means to gain dominance over his new group to build an army once more.
The governor finds Michonne and Herschel outside of the prison and takes them hostage. He arrives at the gates with his new army on top of a tank like a badass!
Rick offers for him to live along with them at the prison.
No violence and peaceful coexistence? Great decision!
And the governor responds by decapitating Herschel.
Trying to negotiate with a madman turns out it was a bad decision!
R.I.P. Herschel.
In the middle of the fray, Lily brings Megan, who's attacked by a walker.
The governor knows she'll turn into a zombie, so he decides to shoot Megan in the head.
Then comes the showdown everyone's really been waiting for. Rick versus the governor!
Right when it seems as the governor has the upper hand, Michonne swoops in and stabs him with her sword.
Lily comes by and as revenge for him shooting her daughter, shoots the governor in the head.
Karma is a bitch, eye patch man!
R.I.P. the governor.
The governor's army has been defeated and the walkers have retaken the prison, causing for everyone in it to split up.
Choosing a prison to live in? Turns out it was a bad decision.
Each group deals with various issues, but are all trying to reach a sanctuary called Terminus, which, looking at their track record for havens, has got to be the one that breaks the mold, right?
Rick and Carl can't find Judith and they fear the worst. They headed with Michonne away from the destroyed prison.
Luckily, Judith is okay as Carol took her, along with other characters that didn't make it into this recap.
Glenn's group takes up 3 new survivors, Abraham Ford, Rosita Espinosa, and Dr. Eugene Porter, who are trekking to Washington, D.C. to see what's left of the government. Perhaps a zombie president?
Dr. Porter says that he knows the cause of the zombie outbreak.
Finally, answers!
But he can't actually say anything because it's classified.
Curse you, lingering questions!
Glenn and Maggie's groups reunite and they make it to Terminus, which doesn't seem like that bad of a place.
Sounds like it's a great decision!
As for Daryl, he runs into a group of survivors led by a man only known as Joe.
He likes Daryl's crossbowing skills and allows him to join his group. The only thing is, if he breaks any of their rules, he could get killed. Sounds like fun!
Joe's group runs into Rick, Carl, and Michonne and captures them, which leads to the scene that all Walking Dead comic fans have been waiting for. Rick rips out Joe's throat with his teeth like a badass!
They escape and finally reach Terminus.
They made it, everyone! They can finally live in harmony!
Well, that isn't until they notice some of the townspeople wearing objects from their friends.
Turns out the people at Terminus forgot to tell them that they're cannibals!
Rick, Daryl, and Michonne are captured and put into a railroad car with Glenn and Maggie's group awaiting an unknown fate.
Coming to Terminus turns out to be a bad decision!
And now you're ready for the new season of The Walking Dead!
Will we find out the source of the Walker outbreak?
Will Rick and his group be next in the Terminus menu?
Who keeps giving out this terrible information about these safe havens that turns out to be exactly the opposite?
Will you be watching the new season of The Walking Dead? We know we'll be! Iron Price!